All right, so I'm recording this after we did the call already because I didn't start the recording until too late. So I wanted to uh share some of the philosophy that about freedom that I shared with those folks that attended the conversation today live. Here's the deal. I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to riff a little bit. It's not going to segue perfectly into that which I was saying when I did hit the record button. I did watch the recording, and I'm going to do the best I can to segue into where I ended up. But there might be a little overlap, and sorry for that in advance. But I wanted to get this part out to you, and I think the overall video and lesson today will be better if I can get some of this other stuff in. So, without further ado, um, getting together your coaching philosophy is huge. And I wrote a book, and that was one of the most wonderful exercises I've ever done in terms of my personal growth, because it forced me to acknowledge my own hypocrisy, my own duplicitousness, my own tendency to want things to be true, multiple things to be true at the same time that can't coexist in reality. I just wanted to be right, I'm sure, many times. And it forced me to really think about things. And then, of course, when you realize, oh, geez, I've been wrong about this, then you've got to reset a whole bunch of stuff. So it was quite a process. So I encourage you to, as a coach, to do some work on considering your own philosophy. What do you believe is true about any multitude of things? In fact, I've thought about doing a workshop to help people go through this process to become more consistent, more powerful in what they know about life, about themselves, about history, about human nature, and to be able to bring that then to their coaching in a much more powerful and confident way, bring themselves to coaching in a much more confident way. So, in terms of my coaching philosophy, freedom is everything. It's the condition which we must live in order to truly have it. Although one could say that you could become free living in a concentration camp, I don't think it's the ideal situation. So it's both the context that is ideal for humans to live in, as well as the goal, true spiritual freedom, which is going to be choice and full self-expression and choosing the very best within ourselves. Our job as coaches is to do our work first. So I'll just own it for myself so that I can become more conscious of who I am at my best and who I am at my worst. Why? Because I want to choose the divine in me rather than diabolical, right? That's the name of the game. Also, I want to know what my authentic expression is in this world, right? So not only am I going to choose the best, but I want to realize, wait, maybe I'm a salesman. Like, that's what I want to be, or this is who I am at this part of my life, because in the overall arc of my life and the lessons that I came here to learn, or the things that I came to express, this is who I am now. I must express it in this way, in this culture, at this time. Okay. So that's I have to do my work so that I can know myself at my best, my worst, the authentic expression. Why? Because the truth is, if I can't be with my own authentic self, I can't be with your authentic self. If I can't be with my best or or my least best, my worst, when it comes time to be with your best, I'm going to find ways to obfuscate, to avoid it, to run. When it comes to being with the not so pretty or nefarious or just unpleasant parts of you, I'll find a way to sugarcoat it, make it better, and you will not be able to grow into the better version of yourself. If I can't be with my own authenticity, I'm not going to let you be with your own authenticity. I can't hold it. I can't be with it. So I have to do my work. You, coach, have to do your work to see yourself at your best and to choose from that best again and again. You're going to fall. You're going to scuff your knee. That's okay. You get back up on your horse. Consciousness means choice, right? We become more conscious of ourselves at our best, our least best, or maybe something less savory, and maybe it's close. True consciousness means being able to make finer and finer distinctions and choose our best. First, we see it, then we've got to grow sufficiently to do or to choose with what we know, right? Or not. So if we choose to live out our best, that's taking responsibility for what we know, and it is living into and becoming more free. When we choose to pretend we don't know, or avoid what we know, or act contrary to what we know, we enslave ourselves, period. We create ourselves a mess. We create mess for others. How do you think you feel when you don't do what you know? How do you think you feel about yourself when you know what you need to do and you avoid it? And then maybe you've got to lie about it or pretend you didn't know. And then, you're going to pay interest on that again and again. And those around you are going to, because you haven't handled your stuff. Everybody's got to pull his or her own weight, right? Live out the truest expression of themselves. And by the way, I think that this world would have a lot more peace if people looked within and lived out the best version of themselves. I don't think that's a very radical thing to even say. People would say, like, well, I want to be this, I want to do this, I want to express myself in this way. And guess what? We wouldn't need for plumbers, we wouldn't need for electricians, we wouldn't need for actors, we wouldn't want for secretary, we wouldn't, because all those roles would be filled at various times by different people. But as it is, we have so many influences on us, and a lack of moral courage to do with what we know. We act in confused ways and are not very fulfilled. I mean, most people aren't fulfilled and are living out lives that they don't want. Enter the need for coaches. Choice is responsibility. Avoiding responsibility, as I mentioned, is self-imposed slavery. While doing what we know, no matter the results, and I think this is important, is no matter the results is freedom. Harry Chapin, who was a singer back in the late 60s, but late 70s, he really made his fame. He sang Cats in the Cradle and some other really beautiful songs. He has an album where he just did some talking, and there were some sketches, some compilation after he died of some of his little talks. They called him Gapin' Chapin because he would talk about hunger, world hunger, and he gave half of his money after every concert to charity. He walked his talk. Anyway, he talked about two kinds of tired that he learned from his grandfather, and he said, there's good tired and bad tired. He said, ironically, bad tired can be a day in which you won. You made the money, you made the sale, you did the thing, but you won other people's battles, you did other people's bidding. It was not your life, and you don't sleep easy. And he said, on the other hand, good tired is the kind where you do what you're here to do. You live out your life. You do what you're supposed to do. And win or lose, you're able to put your head down at night with peace, knowing that you made choices to the best of your ability to live out your life. And so it is with freedom. True responsibility is to do what you know, and true freedom and that peace that comes with living freely is in doing what you know, is taking full responsibility for your life. And so it is with us, with our clients, is to help them take full responsibility for what they know, telling them the truth, speaking truly, right? Naming what we see and helping them grow sufficiently to deal with it. Okay, tag Ron from the video. So, teasing you. All right. Kara's my one that always reminds me, and I was going to joke with you right in the beginning that didn't need you today, and then I did this to myself. Oh no! All right, so Coach. So, what was I just saying before I forgot to hit the record button?
About it's up to each of us, to do our own work.
Be with, and Ben sabotaging me. I don't know why Ben is sabotaging me all the time, but there you go. All right. So, so what happens is if we're unable to be with freedom, be with authenticity, our own foolishness, our own victimhood, or our own brilliance, our own inner benefactor, if you will, any of those things, we're not going to be able to be with someone on their own authentic journey towards those things. Ultimately, freedom is about choice. That is it. And that's our job as coaches. I mean, this is why, in our work, we help people get conscious of their saboteur, conscious of their scammer, conscious of that part of them that is on autopilot, whether it's because of traditions, their patterns, the things they do out of pressure. Like, Ron, do you see you're doing this? Oh gosh, I didn't see that. Okay, great. Well, what's on the other side of that? That other side of that is the authentic expression of your masculinity, of your power, of your commitment. What's on the other side of that? That is your capacity to be gentle or thoughtful, your access to those qualities. And if I'm not conscious, or well, let me say it this way, to the degree that I'm unconscious of these things, whether they're my virtues or my vices, that's to the degree that I'm a slave. I'm enslaved by my own ignorance, by my own unconsciousness, right? And we can blame our culture, we can blame our upbringing, we can blame some trauma, we can blame all those things to a certain degree, but there also comes a time when we become conscious. I don't want to look at now that's your choice point. It doesn't matter how traumatic an experience you had was, to the degree that you won't go there, you will be enslaved. And it might be a choice that you're not going to go there. But the question is, how conscious is it if you don't know what freedom is on the other side of it? Do you know the woman, I'm going to say her name slightly wrong, Yamini Park from North Korea? Has anybody ever heard of her or know her? Her story is astonishing. And but she now lives in America, but she grew up in North Korea and didn't ever long for freedom. She was so brainwashed. There was never a desire to be free, or to be like, she didn't have a conception of it as any of us do. She just wanted food. She wanted potatoes. Like, she heard there was like potato. I think if I'm getting it right, there was like potatoes in Laos or across the border. And it's like, if she could only get there. And of course you can imagine, she talks about being in the grocery store in America, and it's like the choices, it was, it's paralyzing. We too, when we're unwilling to deal with this trauma, with this challenge, with these various things going on, we are enslaved. We're just unconscious of what freedom even is. And it shows up. I've got someone in my family who, I'll say, hey, I was hanging out with, there was a time when and this is, long short is, I was working with some NASCAR, race car drivers and owners, because I was trying to get a $20 million sponsorship, which I'd get 15% of if I could get it. And didn't work out, everybody. Oh, shucks. But I was down there and I was talking to these guys and this and that. And this guy's talking about selling this house, and this house is worth 13 million and this and that. And I remember talking to this person in my family who was like, hey, I don't even want to talk about that. I can't even relate to any of it. I like, it's so far outside of my world. There's nothing for me there. And it's a great example of, it's like, wow, there's disconnect happening between this person I've known my whole life. They can't even talk about it because they can't be with someone else's wealth. Now we're talking about financial wealth. It could be relational. You can't be with an intimate relationship. Can't be with that degree of connectivity. Can't be with health. How many of us, or those that we know, have run from physical well-being? Don't even want to think about it. Right? To that degree, you are unconscious and you are a slave. So the question again is, what is freedom? Well, freedom is choice. And to me, again and again, I try to instill this in my children. I try to instill this in my clients. I try to remind myself of this. And I try to surround myself with people who will tell me the truth in situations, because I want to become more and more conscious. So I am more at choice. So I am more free. God bless those who will put out my faults by helping me see where I'm unconscious. So then I can go, oh, wait, right, I'm not even free in this situation. I thought this, and now I realize my ignorance, I didn't even know this was an option. Yeah. But what do you now know, Ron? What will you do with what you know? And this is, by the way, value of us as coaches. Another value is, how many of us know, right, I probably should go to yoga once a week, and then go, oh, look, you know what? I better go help the people at the soup kitchen. Oh, look, oh, I just got a phone call. Oh, Instagram. And then we don't ever advance on that which we know. Now, to me, this is where the rubber really hits the road, is when you know what you need to do, when you know what's next, when you know what needs your attention and you don't do anything with it, starts to eat you out, starts to rot you. Bless you, Ben. It starts to make you question your own capacity, your own commitment, question yourself when you say that you want something. And when you don't believe yourself, when you can't trust yourself, you have no power in the world, because people can just feel, man, everything is energy. People can feel that you're a poser. Now you're a poser coach, you're a poser mom, you're a poser, whatever. And it's not a complete thing. It's not a panacea, right? In that way, but it's to the degree that you run from yourself, people can feel the inauthenticity. They can feel that quality. So I just wrote down a few other things that I just want to make sure we touch on here. Let me just make this go around full circle then, is to say then, the goal here then is to just hunger for truth. Actually, let me just say this quick too. And I don't recall where I've done this. I think it may have been on one of our videos before, but I make the distinction that I think is worth considering: capital T truth, lowercase t truth, and my truth. And capital T truth is, whether you believe in a God or not, there are laws that govern the universe. And I think it's only foolishness if you say, no, there's no laws, everything is random. It's like, yeah, no, absolutely not. So there is capital T truth. I believe there are also moral laws that govern the universe as well. We all know that it's wrong to initiate violence against someone else. And we all live that way. None of us live that way. If anyone ever tried to come up and hit you, you wouldn't be like, this is just another expression of someone's authenticity. And who am I to deny? No, it's like, that that's not right. That that is not right for you. And therefore it's a universal. So there is capital T truth. There's also lowercase t truth. We're all on Zoom right now. We're all taught, or I'm talking anyway, on Zoom. That's lowercase t truth. Capital T truth is binding on all of us. You can't escape it. Lowercase t truth, we would say it's limited binding, in that you can deny that you're on Zoom, but it's going to cost you in some way. It's not right. It's not a universal, but it is a fact. It is reality. Now, my truth is that apple pie is the best pie. And I will argue with any of you to the ground that, you don't ever put rhubarb in a pie. I mean, what are you trying to do? Like destroy pie, the good name of pie? All right. But it doesn't make it binding on anyone. And you can hang up on me now because I'm so far off base with this. And what we end up doing is conflating my truth. And you see this all the time in our world these days, by the way. And they'll say, well, I think this and therefore that, and you're a bigot, or you're a this, and they just shut down and there's no more conversation. Now we other the other person. Now you can see us causing lots of mayhem. We're enslaving ourselves. We're enslaving the other. We cause chaos in the world. I'm a big believer in, we create heaven on earth. There may be a heaven. I don't know, but I do know that we can create heaven or hell. And it starts within ourselves, being free within ourselves, right? Being consciously at choice and choosing the best towards capital T truth, and in relation with lowercase t truth, and living out our authentic selves, my truth, at any given time, right? In a way that's good for me today, tomorrow, and next week, and hopefully others, right? That's how it's done. So, tell you, philosophy is important. Have you thought about some of this stuff? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you sorted through? Do you have the access to words to be able to clean up your client when they go off in some of these ways and they're just saying two different things that don't make any sense and they're not trying to go out and live this? This is why we have to sort out our stuff philosophically. I want to hit something else as we talk about freedom as the central thing. Everyone in the world has an agenda for you. Everyone. And you have an agenda for everyone. Right now, I don't know what it is. I'm making stuff up. There's all this makeup, but we've got to think about it. What's my agenda? My agenda is to deliver excellent work. My agenda is to be articulate. My agenda is to have people go, yeah, that makes sense. My agenda is to grow this group of people. My agenda is, let's just be honest. I hope that this turns into the right people want to hire me for this or that. And maybe your company wants to, or maybe somebody's this or that. Yeah. But what I know for me is I have to give selflessly without any actual direct expectation. Otherwise, it'll start coming through as really mercenary. So I just do this once a month for free, let it go, and the chips will fall, because I know the universal law is you put good out in the universe, you get good back. Okay. That's my agenda. What's your agenda for being here? Like, you want to learn something. You want to make business connections. You want to walk out of here so you can be more inspired for one session that you have in an hour. You want to pass your next exam. Who knows what your agenda is? You go out of the world. What do you want? You want your husband or your wife to be kind to you, to love you. You want somebody to pay you more money. You want somebody to, whatever. But if we can become aware of the agendas we have for ourselves, the agendas we have for others, the agendas others have for us. Now, again, there's a growth in consciousness. Freedom is conscious choice. If we aren't aware of these things, that can be kind of challenging to wrestle with or think about. To that degree, we're enslaved. Okay. A couple more thoughts. Well, let's just even say, who has agendas for us? Well, guess what? Do you think Dove soap has an agenda for you? Yeah. They don't want Dial getting the business. They don't want Irish Spring getting the business. They want you using Dove. Why? Because that lady's got such beautiful skin, and men can use it too. You know, it's like, that's just what it is. How about Chevy? Yeah, Chevy's got an agenda. And even though their car probably is crap relative to Honda, my truth, not the truth, by the way. They have an agenda for you to believe something that may or may not be true. You need to be aware of that, right? Before you go buying a car. How about your parents? How about anybody in your family? How about the person who pulls in? Oh, you're both going to go in the grocery store at the same time. What's their agenda? Their agenda is maybe that they go in first. Maybe their agenda is to be the more generous of the two and let you go and realize, you know, I need to express this and this. Who knows? Just become conscious of it. Politicians, do politicians have an agenda? Yes, to get elected in 2 years or 4 years. They do what they say what they need to say to get elected. All of them. All of them. And maybe some of them really believe what they say. But I'm a big Ron Paul fan. Small government, you know, let people be free kind of guy. Guess what? He wanted to get elected in 2 years so he could do what he could do. That's just true. And what's great about actually when you bring up politicians is that's a conversation that forces us to get honest, because it makes us look beyond the words. Anybody can say peace, love, hope, together, diversity. Anybody can say the magic words, and then you got to watch the actions. So we help our clients get conscious of, yes, you say this, but you're doing that. Your spouse said this, but this is what's happening. How do you want to be with this? Help them get conscious. Is it hard? Is it a hard truth for them to get? Yeah, probably. But if we just sugarcoat it and pretend, no, they must have meant this or no, whatever. It's like, no, well, what did we do with this and this that are very disparate, distinct, and can't really stand on equal footing? What do we do? Well, we got to bring it present to our client, be strong enough to bring it present and go, I don't know, what do you want to do with this? Right? Of course, the media, right? Everything is true until it turns out, well, we were wrong, but now this is true. But now you got to really believe us and now trust us. I don't know if you know this. I'm going to go far enough back that it can be safe and not too much of a challenge. But many of us have heard of the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which is the incident that we were told where the Vietnamese bombed an American ship that made us really have to get into Vietnam. Oh, it turns out it never happened. I don't know if you know that. And you can even go on Wikipedia now and see that it never happened. But for how many years did it happen? And 58,000 Americans died. And how many millions of Vietnamese civilians and soldiers had to die? How many? For what? Well, that's a good question. What's the media lying about today that you're just as convinced by? It's like, oh no. So we got to back out. And I'm going to wrap up now. Our job is to do far better at going within, is what we do with our clients, right? Is to take them within. What do they know rather than the limitations of what we know? What do they know within their spirit, their soul, their deep knowing? So that they aren't governed by the media, by politicians, by their parents, by their traditions, by their religion, by their all of these things. Religion is a funny word, by the way. I believe it's the Latin. It means to bind or to hold down, which is good. We need to be bound and held down in some ways. And in other ways, that can be terribly limiting. But where is it that you're bound down? Oh, Rex has got to run. Okay. Where is it that you're bound down in your thinking and in your beliefs? Where is it your clients are? And to help them deal with reality, right? Truth, capital T truth or lowercase t truth, and to be at choice with it. That's freedom. And our job as coaches is to help our clients be free. Okay. there's my thoughts. Let's, unmute yourself as you'd like, but throw your disagreements, what you're feisty about, what you're excited about, what you're unsure about, just throw it out there and let's start sorting stuff out, guys.
Potentially more painful than the Gulf of Tonkin. Going even further back in history, and again, this is not to pick any fights or to say that this is the capital T truth. Read a good breakdown of the decision to drop the bomb on Hiroshima, and one of the things that came out is it was not at all obvious that the president authorized the first drop at all.
Yeah, and it's also obvious that the Japanese were already done, and
Yeah.
It was wanted. They wanted to do it, so it was done. But again, we find out these things years later, and we go, "Yeah, but they wouldn't do it today," and that's the mind trick. Our politicians are pure and kind and thoughtful today, and it's like, well, wait a second, really, But
This
anyway,
is why you have to go back that far to have something that's safe to talk about.
that's right. Let's make it a 50-year moratorium of anything closer than 50 years. But the principle is there, and this is why I'm a big fan, is to have these conversations, and actually why, again, my buddy Kara over there and I were talking about me doing these weekly emails for everybody, is because we have to have these philosophical, principle-based conversations, because life is philosophy. And if we're ignorant to it, or we have some kind of shallow personal growth, like just smile and fake it till you make it. It's like, that's good up until, and then life hits you, and we've got to. So these conversations that have mature conversations, that those that we have loved and have worshipped, we did so probably in our youthful ignorance, and maybe we're still doing that. And so long as we're doing that, we're immature, and we are setting ourselves up for more challenge than maybe we want to or need to experience.
Yeah.
So
on a more positive note, and I don't mean to hog the mic if anyone else has something they want to say, but what you said in the beginning about freedom, I'm reminded of two things. One, flying back from Detroit last week, I watched the movie Princess Mononoke, and the challenge in that's set for the hero is to go back to the thing that cursed him and see with eyes unclouded. And the other thing that came up for me was the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, where right in the beginning you say it's the goal of doing this is to see the world without any mental modifications. That's great.
That's
and I'm just like, as difficult as that is to do, that's the goal. That's what we're all trying to do.
You were saying that, and I thought of two things. It's like there's a thought of you can never go home again, and it's because you can never go home again with your 7-year-old eyes back to the house you grew up in. It's because you're going to be different. And it's the hero's journey. We're supposed to journey away from our infancy and our youthful belief that everybody's in it for us, and all adults know what they're doing, and Santa Claus is real. And then we come back around and we experience this again with mature eyes, able to deal with reality and its more rough edges. So that's great. Thank you for that, man. What else is going on in your minds? Yes.
One thing that you said that really stood out for me, everyone in the world has an agenda for you, like how vast that agenda is. I mean, you brought in, advertisement and stuff, and we know our families and stuff, but when we can work with our clients and really sit with that and really separate whose agenda is that, and why are we following that agenda when it's not ours? What is it that we're seeking by following that person's agenda? What is it offering us? Maybe it's offering us something that we do want to do the dishes because it's our wife's agenda, or, and to go deeper to explore like whose agenda is it and why you're doing it. And maybe it does fulfill something. I just think that's like a whole workshop in there too.
Hey, good. Well, you know what? And maybe there's, I was thinking about this before we started. Maybe there is something in there where some of these just really would require a day to unpack. And maybe that's one right there worth noting. And, the other thing that I think is sort of a corollary to that, Susan, I'm glad you brought that out, is everyone in the world has an agenda for us, and we have an agenda for everyone else. But also the corollary is that everything we do is for ourselves. And that's a tough one to swallow, because I'm washing the dishes because my wife, it's like, no, because you wanted to get points. No, because you knew if you didn't, she was going to yell. Or no, if you did, you knew that's going to make things a little easier and you want an easy home. And it's like, it totally shatters the victim nonsense narrative that we do to ourselves, others do to themselves. And it is so empowering to go like, I'm choosing this. And if this is the impact of my actions, do I want that impact? I mean, I got to be responsible for everything. Yes. It's the, what did Viktor Frankl say? There's a Statue of Liberty on one side, one coast, there should be a Statue of Responsibility on the other. So somebody, let's write that down. Let's do a workshop on that.
Yeah.
Susan, is there other thoughts that you wanted to share before I?
No, thank you.
Thank you for that. That's great.
Actually, what you said, Susan, made me think about something. Like, people have agenda for others, and we do as well. But like that also makes me think about when you're with one of your coaches and they're like in that place where like they almost like don't have any agenda for themselves, right? And I always kind of like to say that, and it makes me think of that as like, if you don't set your own goals, people will do it for you, right? The society will do it for you. It will just be that way. And so like, it's even more empowering to realize this and to make them realize this, that like, if they don't do what they want to do and like don't give themselves that freedom, well, then they will never be free, because they'll just go with somebody else's flow, and that will probably not sit right, or like just for a certain amount of time. But yeah, that's kind of like what came out for me, and I think that's something that I've lived through as well in my own path, and that I'm like still trying to evolve on every day, because I want to be empowering more people to do that too.
That's beautiful. You're queued up beautifully to do that work. That is so rich what you just said. And I wrote something down and I've said, I don't know if this is in my book or where this is, but I know I've written this and talked about this before, that, basically, if you don't have your goals and your wants, you're going to be living somebody else's, you're going to be living another person's life, or an amalgam of everybody else's wants for you in such a way that it's acceptable. I had a tremendous insight. I took singing lessons for a month from this opera singer. And I had heard something and kind of timidly shared it with him, and he validated it, which was studies show that my voice, your voice, is what we, as we grew, deemed acceptable. And so maybe my voice was naturally a little more nasally or a little more high. Like that's just but I learned that with a deeper timbre, I'm more respected, or who knows? I don't know at all, but it's something like, this is an acceptable voice, and it kind of pulls us down, and then we speak within this range and live within that range. What everybody else says is acceptable because we're Christian or Muslim, or we're gay, or we're Black, or we're from the South, or whatever your stuff is. And it's like, man, and this is something I love talking about. It's like, as soon as you live to check the box of your demographics or your group of demographics, you've lost, because all that is a stereotype amalgam of what this time and this part of the world and that says that is. It has nothing to do with this eternal, infinite spirit living through me. It's like, not at all. And that's scary. And all I know is I don't want to do it. And I don't want anybody in my life to be limited by properly living out society's latest version of their demographic. Not having that.
I think the power in what you're saying is like recognizing our own patterns when we just see somebody saying something or doing something, because it's exactly what we've been conditioned to, whether it's from like our past or trauma or like our education, culture. And like we look at it with our own perspective. And so we make of it whatever they're saying or doing based on what we think is right or wrong.
Wait, now, Mike, see if I caught you right, because I think it could be sort of like a double whammy. Then it's sort of if I'm not trying to look through my authentic self, I will then look at what people are saying or doing or wanting for me through this lens of what am I supposed to do as a white 6'4", 50-year-old, whatever, American. And it's like that it still has nothing to do with authentic anything. It's more nonsense. That's going to, it's like shifting sand. It's like telling a lie, another lie, another lie. Let's build a house on the stack of nonsense versus let's pull it all down to the rock and build on that.
Yeah.
Am I kind of getting what you were saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think
Okay.
this is really accurate. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's great. How about you, Ben? What's happening over there?
I really like this conversation around it, particularly around the choice of freedom and how a lot of people kind of aren't aware of maybe, like I said, that there's a lot of unconscious choices being made for them or that they're making themselves, and that as coaches that we can provide a space for them to help discover some of that and to like tear down to the rock and see what's there. What's the shape of the rock? What type of rock is it?
Love that. I love that. Yeah, let's get rid of all the BS and let's get down to bedrock and build from there.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Philosophically, I come from the notion that who we are is who we are at our best. Now, I also know that I'm lazy and a loser and, like all those labels and all that stuff. But again, we're going to talk about freedom but the truest expression of this infinite soul are these other qualities, right? Kindness and generosity, well placed, well timed, because we also know that Ron can be just so kind and gentle to everybody. And all it really is a mask for my insecurity. And as long as everybody's happy, it's like, no, our virtues cranked up too high can be complete vices and obfuscations of our shortcomings, of our diabolical self that refuses to grow up or take on responsibility. So let's be aware of that. But I keep doing this because I always tell people your job is to connect clients, alignment, integrity, integrate the best into themselves. So yeah, our job is to connect people to the richest, deepest parts of themselves. There's your bedrock. So let's help people see that that's who you are. Let's just build on those things that you already are. We don't have to make you into something else. That's exciting, Ben, I think. Anyway, so riffing off of your rock you're talking about. What else is happening out there?
Thinking about agendas, and I've heard coaches basically saying that they don't have an agenda for their clients.
Yeah. Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I want to know what they want, and I want it to be built around that, but I want to hold belief in them even when they don't.
Yeah, believe in themselves, aren't feeling it themselves, right?
Yeah. So I want to know what you said about who we are is who we are at our best. I want to believe in who they are at their best, and I want to hold them to that. And I want to, even when they have a wobble and they feel completely disconnected from that and from what they're capable of and what their full potential is, I want to be with them, but still hold what I know is true about them.
That's it. I'm going to whip this thing out. We've talked about this on some other video before, but Fred, you're right on it, brother. And I'm so glad you're reminding us. These are agendas, guys. And to me, this is how I label it. So let's start with the second one. Second one is what people come to coaching for at face value. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to find a wife. I want to make $1 million. I want to get closer to God or figure out where I want to live next. Each call they're bringing in like, yeah, I got to update my match profile, or how do I find a spouse, right? Like, so they're attacking the more granular versions in order to create this, right? So there's two agendas. You and I are always looking at this. Who are they at their best? Who do they need to be in order to lose 20 pounds? Who do they need to be in order to attract the proper spouse? Who do they need to be in order to make a good decision about where they're going to live? So we're always doing what Fred was talking about right here. This is where we're always playing. That is my agenda for my clients, to live this out. Now, the name of the game, of course, where we never reach is nirvana, heaven, perfection, right? But the more that we live closer, the more kind or gentle or generous I am, the more I'm moving towards this, right? And this, I would say, is our ultimate agenda for ourselves and our clients, but we're really working it through. Can you be more of this guy right here? And as you do, you can't help but become more of who you were born to express. Does that make sense?
I also think there's a way in which, of course, we have an agenda for our clients, but also understand, yeah, there's an agenda for the client as long as there's money changing hands to a certain extent, but also understanding the value we bring to them. This might be their only opportunity to be truly seen and truly heard for their potential without somebody running an agenda on them. So
That's right.
To the extent that you draw, and it turns out that people will exchange money for that experience because it's so absolutely rare. And so I think it's finding that, and the best way to maximize the part of the agenda that's okay, which is the wanting to make money, is to make sure that you're showing up and fully connecting them to that integrity you talked about.
That's it. And my commitment to be with and the strength to deal with reality such as that we find it, and your commitment to stand in it here. And now you can start to see, as you and me as coaches, and how much you and I have got to really show up and hold the space. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna help do a visualization with Roger, so I'm gonna do a little whatever. It's like that a bit. No, it's like fully frigging present. It matters.
Yeah.
We're either going to underwrite people's mediocrity or their excellence. Every question, every articulation, every moment of silence. So yeah, it matters, man. And I'm glad that you're bringing that. It matters.
Can we talk maybe about the balance between holding their mediocrity, holding their excellence? Because there is a really, really difficult line between everything's okay, you're great, and man, you're dragging ass on this. It's like, and if you go too much into excellence, it can get abusive. If you go too much into affirming, it becomes bland and mediocre, and they're not served either.
Can I write that down as a maybe topic for next week? Because I want to get
absolutely,
to a question, or next month. Okay. Let me plan on that. Let me get that down, and let me address some questions. So having realized we really have about 10 minutes, because I also want to circle back and hear everybody's essential bottom line walkaway or takeaway thought. Let me start powering through this stuff. And I'm glad you brought that up, Roger, because that'll be fun to play with. Ultimately, the question is something like, how much is it driving, going, we can do this, you're capable, you're beautiful. And how much is it like, dude, it's cool. Let's be cool and present with what's here now. But we don't want to turn into syrupy. It's sort of like, it's sort of the diabolical female, the devouring mother sort of paradigm of like, you're beautiful, you're special, it's fine. And you're feeding your kid until he's just out of shape, has no motivation to do anything, and is a lump, and is 42 years old, still in the basement, mom. It's like, ooh, we don't want our clients to develop that. And we also wanted to be the out of balance masculine, the father that's driving, it's never enough, never satisfied, abandoned. So yeah, it's funny. It's like, okay, so where do we balance that out? The calling forth and matching you're beautiful, and be present and be satisfied where you are while you're being pulled towards this. Yeah, that's the tension, man. All right. Let's address some of these questions. All right, Freddie, where boy was first. It's marketing, getting the word out. Listen, this is one of those things that we talk about, and it's like I think for me, and just let me have a word on this quick, and then correct me and nudge me and everything. People might have another thought, but I want to be very essential so we can kind of get through these. This is coaching. If I can coach you right now, Fred, to connect you to your richest, deepest self and this powerful self, the truth is, probably in 5 minutes, you'd be like, Ron, the truth is, I know I need to be doing more of this and this and blah, 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 blah. And I just have to do it. And that's the case for most of us about most of what's going on in our lives. So with that in mind, I don't want to use that as kind of like a throwaway answer. I got to tell you something really interesting is, so I mentioned that I used to work in the trades. Like, I think I did, or was I talking to somebody else earlier about that? So maybe some of you know that I used to work in the trades when I was a younger man, when I made my transition through NLP and the speaking and all that jobs before I transitioned into coaching full time. I now occasionally, I mean, I'm building a cabin in New Hampshire, and occasionally somebody I'll get introduced. It's like, hey, Ron, I heard that you do X. Can you? And whether it's in Concord, Massachusetts or up in New Hampshire. And if I want to, I'll make a lot of money. Like, I mean, relative to coaching, nothing. Relative to $90 an hour cash for doing a little sheetrock, a little painting, whatever. And I'll do that. Why? It fulfills me. It stretches another part of me. I like it. And guess what? Now I'm working with people who can afford that kind of money for a handyman of sorts for a day or two, who now hear, oh, this is what you really do for a living? Oh, well, my son, and I've had that happen. Now, I've not gotten clients. I've only done it a few times, this construction thing, but I've done it a few times in the last year. And I've had people really talking to me about, like, oh, well, could you do this? Or what about that? And it just hasn't panned out. But guess what? How many sample sessions have you done where it hasn't panned out? And it struck me the last time I was doing this, going, this could be a really interesting way to build a business for someone, right? And it's like, where would you come up with that idea? So it's funny. And it brings me back to, what do you love? Live truly, put yourself in these situations. And then it probably touches into what Elaine was saying, about, I'm a coach. Now what? Like, what do you do from then? And can I segue the conversation to Elaine's question, Fred? And Elaine, it's like, look, there are multiple, we were talking about agendas before. There are multiple agendas. So I know that I have got to, if you hire me to do some work for you, this is what I tell people. I stink at estimating jobs, and that's why I'm $90 an hour, because if I tell you $1,000, I'm so ambitious and believe in myself. It's going to take 3 days, and I'm going to resent doing the work because I'm making nothing on this. So if you agree that I work hard and I do quality work and I'll do the very best I can, and you agree to the rate, then I'm happy to work for you for the day, or, maybe 2 days, something like that. And in that way, then my agenda, it's clean between everybody. There's no weird stuff going on, right? Marketing, politicians, it's all just clean. Now we're free. It feels so good. Everybody's happy, all good. So what's my agenda when I say, oh, I'm a coach? Now at that point, and actually I did this with someone recently, they're like, you're kidding. And no, I do. And now it's like, well, what do you say? Well, what am I trying to do in this moment? Look, I don't want it to get weird. I'm here primarily for this. If I float something out and they bite and they want it, now I can adjust the conversation. If they don't, then I'm going to put my head down, be faithful with what I'm here to do, and go, right? But what do you say after you're a coach? Well, it depends. If people are like, whoa, you are, like, well, what do you mean? Like you do one-on-one, like stuff, like, whatever. Like, we do know in our Western culture, North America for sure, Europe, lots of Asia now, they know what coaching is. So you might say, yeah, I mean, I help couples, entrepreneurs, executives get clear about what they want to create the next part of their lives. I help, whatever your thing is, that could be a hook. I also, by the way, I work with young men, right? So I work with young men to help them become the men that they were meant to be, or find themselves, or whatever. And I've done that before, and I've said that before, and it's created clients for me before. Okay. So I think some of you, for Elaine, is to get really clear, like, what do you do? And again, this is knowing ourselves, being comfortable with ourselves, and being able to comfortable to powerfully speak that out. I am this is what I do. And then don't talk. Let it work over people, because this is what we do as coaches. We say something and then we watch the impact and we work with it. So then let your words have their impact, and then deal with it. I mean, maybe they're not interested, and maybe they're afraid to be too interested because they're just not even sure what this means, and be coach-like. I do the same thing, by the way, when I'm, Ben calls me out of nowhere and says, hey, Ron, I want to talk about maybe working together. I'm going to be right up front with, what do you want? Why did you call me? What is your hope? This is what I do. This is how much I charge. And lots of times people have hemmed and hawed, and gee whiz, that's more than I thought. I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. Let me think, blah, blah. And I said, listen, I'm going to be a coach rather than a salesman right now, because all I can do is help you choose from the best part of yourself what to do. Otherwise, I'm going to feel bad and feel shame, and you're going to resent me and coaching and all that. It doesn't work. So we wipe out we get all the agendas clear, and then we just deal with what we have at hand. And I help draw out the best so he can make his best decision. Right. So I'm just taking you, Elaine, a little bit further than you might have been asking, but that takes me all the way with integrity through this process. And Roger, I'm going to touch Ben first because I think we can do all three at the same time here. Ben, there's an old story that comes out of the American sales tradition from like the 50s or 60s where two salesmen go to Africa. Now imagine this being said in 1958. Obviously it's not quite the same in most parts of Africa now. Two salesmen go to Africa and they call back to their bases. They're shoe salesmen. First salesman goes, bad news, nobody wears shoes here, no hope of business. He flies home. Second salesman goes, great news, nobody wears shoes. Okay. So you're a little bit, if you're doing the thing in Latin America where it's a lot of Catholic influence, where it's like, well, you've got a problem, you go see your family, right? There's still that family thing. You got a problem, the priest, 4 o'clock, he's got confession. Why would I confess to a coach? Like, there's not an understanding. And so you could go one of two directions. You can go, well, nobody wears shoes, or you can go to, how exciting. I have a whole market of people here who don't know that they can have an ally who has no agenda for them except their own self-understanding, their own self-expression, separate from what their family wants for them, separate from what the church wants, separate from what their culture wants. So hope does that advance the thought at all? Okay. Good. And then Roger, listen, buddy boy, I want to rip my eyeballs out of my head. I let my credentials lapse like 5 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had to. And I'm like, I got to retake this. You know how many hours? And I was like, I have been coaching for thousands and thousands. I teach coaches around the world. I have to take this freaking test again.
Yeah. The
test drove me batty. It was challenging, and you just did it. So, it's like Roger comes to you with a challenge. Do you and he wants to pass his exam next time. Do you, 1, articulate what you see, B, ask him a powerful question, C, tell him to screw off, or D, ask him who he wants to be in the and you're like, well, it could be A, B, or D. They're all the same. Like, this is totally subjective. So I got like an 84 on it, by the way. So I was just like, I got an 84. I'm done. I did it. My 2 cents for you is you didn't do it. You got to read through their stuff and their words on their website, because you're going to hear little nuances of things they want and they're looking for, because some of this stuff is so incredibly subjective and frustrating. It's sort of, I don't mean this loosely. How do I want to say it? It feels like there's an inner circle, like this is how you do coaching, rather than it being organic. And it's like, oh no, you should always articulate before you ask a question. And it's like, it doesn't make, so just read through the website. And I found that to be very useful at getting the proper answer, if not a correct one.
That was the plan.
Yeah, good. Blessings to you, my brother, and good luck.
I'm going to retake it, and I'm going to pass it next time. It's going to be fine.
Good. All right. Let's go around the horn as I see it in my window here. Everybody, just the essence of one thing they're walking away with, something that could be actionable, or just something that you now have locked in that you're going to chew on some more. Kara, let's start with you.
I think I'm going to keep chewing on just the differentiating between conscious choice and, unconscious or passive choice, and just noticing in my everyday of the areas that I'm making passive choices.
That's great. Thank you, Kara. Elaine.
I like something that you said that was really powerful. Surround yourself from people that help you see the hard truths, so that you can make sure when you're being complacent and ignorant. Also, I really liked when you said that's where the rubber hits the road.
Yes.
I wrote it down because I didn't know that expression, and I thought it was very powerful.
I love colloquialisms, idioms like that.
So that way it hits it for me.
Good, Elaine. Roger.
I'm walking away with really just to echo what Kara shared. I'm walking away with radical clarity and what part of my life needs that right now.
Great. Oh, dude, wonderful. Radical clarity, radical reality. Hey, Jag, can you talk to us?
Sure. I guess what I'm coming away with is being reinforced in that I never tell anyone I'm a coach. I tell them what I do. I help good managers become better leaders because I believe in what Steve Jobs said. Don't sell the iPod based on, 3 gigabytes of storage. Sell it based on 1,000 songs in your pocket.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well said. I mean, that's a nice little elevator pitch. It's like bang done. Like, oh, I now know whether I'm Mark's client or not in a heartbeat. A beautiful, Mark. Susan.
I'm holding something you said around most of us know what we have to do. We just have to do it.
Yeah. Develop the courage. It's developing ourselves sufficiently to deal with that. Great for you. Great. Take that to your clients. Fred.
My big takeaway from today is, I love all the things that you say, but my big takeaway is how you say them. So being definitive and being bold and just getting out there.
That's great.
But thank you.
You're welcome, my brother. Yeah, I think there's something about being bold and there's like a let go at the same time. It's like, this is it. Now let's see what the impact is over there.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good, Fred. Ben, gonna help us finish strong, buddy.
Yeah, well, I have to say I like option D here, all of the above, the best. I loved hearing everyone else's summaries. The only other piece I think is the helping make sure that my clients are aware of where they're making choice and where they're not, and helping them move towards freedom.
Amen. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. That's a great way to cap us. Everybody, I like to end on time. We're 2 minutes over. I apologize for that. I'll do better next time, and see you in a month. I'll let you know what we're talking about probably in about a week, and see y'all soon. Coach Uncompromised, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.